Time for Dart Talk. Brought to you by thedartzone.com. Stay in the zone. Thedartzone.com is an official Cosmo distributor and Windy City Fabricators, America's premier fabricators of orthotics and prosthetics. And Redwood Darts, America's newest tungsten darts. Stand straight and tall and hit them all. Redwood Darts. And now, here are your hosts, Mystery Mark and Steve P.
Dart Talk carries the Internet Broadcast Rating TVD, a broadcast that is specifically designed to be viewed or heard by the darting community, and therefore may be incomprehensible to other lesser mammals. Darter discretion advised.
Okay. Welcome to Dart Talk.
Okay. That started out well.
It's some day in April.
April 11th.
I don't even know what
As far as I'm
episode this
concerned.
is. Steve Financielman with Mystery Mark and Chat Room Girl, who's giggling in the back.
Yes. We're off to a rousing start.
Oh, my gosh. Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is a Ozark Mountain Daredevil
Okay,
and an
there you
official
go.
Cosmo distributor. Yeah. And welcome, everyone. We got a lot to get to. We're going to talk some Superdarts, and we're going to talk NWDS. And next week we will give the White Mountain tournament its due.
Okay.
I didn't have time. I didn't get back until this afternoon, so I didn't have time to chase down the results. And I know everybody had a good time. I have some idea of who won and stuff, but we'll get some people talking about White Mountain next week. This week we'll do Dartslive, Superdarts, and we'll do the NWDS. And everybody should welcome. We have a chat room girl now. Say hi, chat room girl.
Hi, everybody.
CRG is back. Oh, nice.
There she is.
So you guys behave yourself in the chat room, and hopefully we'll be able to address this stuff that comes in there. And how are you?
I'm doing well.
How was your weekend?
It was fine.
Week, 2 weeks.
Baseball season has officially started.
It has.
Coincidentally, is basically over.
Yes.
For us Chicago fans, Cubs or Sox for that matter.
Which reminds me, I am trustworthy, and I got to tell you, I threw up in my mouth a little bit. But here is your Here's your bet. You wanted to bet on the White Sox to win the pennant.
Yes.
You got 22-1.
Sweet.
And even though I threw up in my mouth a little bit making the bet, I will tell you this: the guy that took the bet is one of these, older fellas, maybe in his 60s or something, and he was kind of like, yeah, good bet. Yeah, 22-1.
Good. Yeah.
I mean, if like
for
7
$20,
teams
right?
fall on
Did I
their
give you
faces
20
and say, yeah,
25, one of the two.
Well, you gave me 20.
Right.
To put on that, so I want you to know that I'm trustworthy.
Well, I figured you would.
And
well,
then,
yeah, because if you didn't come back with a ticket, I'd be like,
well, yeah. And then you asked me to put $10 on Red 14.
I did.
So here are your winnings for the Red 14.
Okay.
Which would be
0. Zonko.
But now you're telling me I bet the wrong number?
Yes.
Now how is that possible?
Because my number is 13, not 14.
13. We checked into hotels that don't have a 13 because it's a bad luck
my favorite number. Maybe that's why I've had so much bad luck over my life. I don't know.
So you swear to God you didn't tell me to bet 14?
Nope.
You told me to bet 13.
Right.
You wouldn't lie.
I would not lie. I have 13 inked on my arm.
You have 13. Show me. Where's 13 inked on your arm? Really?
You really want me
oh,
to
you
show
got to take your shirt off?
No.
I don't know. Sassy, should we take his word for it?
Yes.
Okay, fine.
So anyway.
I'll have
so
to
here's
move.
your envelope for the roulette 13.
Did it really win?
Would I give you cash if you didn't deserve it?
Sweet.
So get this. So I called Jill, and I'm like, you'll never guess. Mark wanted me to just walk by a roulette table, put $10 on 13, and it won. First words out of her mouth are, "Did you back it up?" And I'm like, "Huh?" And we were in the mountains, so I kind of lost the call. And so I called her again. And she's like, "Did you back it up?" I'm like, "Back what up?" She's like, "Back up the 13." I'm like, "No, it's a terrible bet. It's just like the White Sox. You think I'm going to put $10
That's
on
why
the White
it's
Sox?"
35 to 1.
Oh, I got yelled at. But congratulations.
Well, thank you.
You officially made more money than the
half
top
the players.
the top 32 guys. So, and you didn't have to travel.
Right.
So that was good.
Well,
no, I was happy for you.
I appreciate it.
I was so
That's
stoked.
actually the first time that's ever happened. I always, whenever somebody goes to Vegas, I always give them some money to throw it on 13.
To throw it on 13.
And it's never won.
Well, it was so cool because
That's the one thing you could be untrustworthy about.
Well, why would I?
I'm not saying you would be.
Oh, wow.
I'm just saying maybe the other people that I've given the money to have.
I'm going.
Yeah,
to
it's
Vegas
probably
next
hit
week.
every time.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. You can you could double down with chat room girl there.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, Vegas was fun. So right after that, we were ready to leave, and I was with the Dartzone.com, thedartzone.com. I was with Bill Penn, and Bill's like, "Well, maybe you ought to throw 20 in a slot machine." So he's like, "Let's go over to the machines that he was winning on that were killing me." So I'm like, "Yeah, right." So I played for like 5 minutes and managed to still be even, and I'm like, "You know what? I'm going to play this machine right over here, right kind of around the corner, $300 or
Sweet.
$270," and I'm like, "Okay, can we leave now?" So
exactly.
made up almost all my losses. If you go to Vegas for 5 days, I think I was there 5 days, and I only
That's a
lost
long time.
$150. I'm like, I'm a winner.
Yeah,
kind of what I'm
absolutely.
thinking.
How much time did you spend actually gambling?
Well, Thursday I had a lot of downtime.
Yeah.
And I had some downtime Friday, and then once the action really started on Saturday,
you didn't think about it.
No, there was really. No, there's really no way because, this was one of those tournaments where you go there and you play and you try to survive. And it was really interesting watching some of the people and what their approaches were. Some people kind of did the same thing they always did. Some people tried some things a little bit different. I had a completely different take, apparently, than a lot of other people did. So we'll get to that. And then Sassy can chime in here. I guess you went to the airport the other day. Is that true?
Absolutely. I went to the Jody Carworth.
Okay, you might want to pick that up.
Do I need to pick it up?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
There you
I went with Jody Carworth.
She's going to yank everything off the table.
Yeah, yeah.
She probably will.
Knock everything
She'll
off
kill
the
the
table.
show.
It's okay though, because it's my first night officially, so I'm allowed to.
Somebody who had the show killer on their radio show. Was it Phil the show killer? Was it Tony Kornheiser had the show killer?
I don't.
The guy that would
show
break
killer.
in with updates and
Right.
stuff. Okay.
Oh, I gotta be a show killer.
Well, we don't want you to be a show
I'm
killer.
not a show killer.
So you went to the airport.
Yeah, I went to the airport because we had two very good friends and daughters, Mr. Scotty and Mr. Ben, that came back from Superdarts.
Scotty Kirchner and Benny Dirch, both I'm assuming from Janesville, Wisconsin.
From Janesville, Wisconsin.
Right, were they like covered with cheese or
No, they were covered with smiles.
covered with smiles? We'll get to that. We'll talk some Dartslive. I know you spent some time watching it, and I'm really interested on your take as far as like how easy it was to follow on the internet. And I got a lot of emails, so we're going to talk some stuff as usual. I'm critical about everything, but we do we do it in a constructive way.
Right.
Okay.
And I'll be the first to say, my game needs some work. But let's take our first break. I want to check my email, and then we'll be right back. So everybody, just bear with us. This won't take long.
I'm Susan. I work for the Red Bar. I grew up here in Chicago, and I'm listening to Dart Talk.
Okay, and we're back for the whatever the second quarter is.
Second quarter.
Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks, Windy City Fabricators and Redwood Darts. And I should apologize for being as frazzled as I am. But I mean, literally, I did not get back until this afternoon.
Right.
So I am like kind of
Well, that's all the more reason why you should run the disclaimer before we start talking about anything else.
Yes, the disclaimer.
The views and opinions expressed by guests on Dart Talk do not necessarily reflect the thoughts or opinions of the hosts, our sponsors, any official Dart sanctioning organization, and post hoc ergo propter hoc, any and all spelunkers, debunkers, raconteurs, roustabouts, technocrats, hepcats, cat ladies, Lady Gaga, the Four Seasons, the Three Stooges, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences, hipsters, kibitzers, hellions, the fickle finger of fate, or Tom Waits.
Okay, so
now
everything
we
say
can
is
talk
now
about the
officially
WDS.
correct. Yeah, the WDS. See if I can remember that far back.
Was it a good time?
Yeah, it's great. Everybody I talk to is absolutely in love with the format. Mm-hmm. We've said it on the show, and it was only reinforced by pretty much everybody I talked to and every face I saw. If you lost a match, you lost it. Nobody got lucky. I don't know if Scott's
not
listening.
This time.
Although you can ask me about that in about 5 minutes.
Right.
You know, you have your chances. There were guys ripe for the picking. Seeds were falling left and right. And, you know, guys were coming up to me, I had him. I missed this double, and I missed 3, and then I missed another 3, and another 3. And it's like, yeah, you know what? You didn't have them. You don't have them until you nail the double. And that's the thing about 501. That's what drives everybody crazy. It's like putting in golf. You know, if you know, I hit 18 greens in regulation.
If I could have only made
but
a
I had
4-footer.
39 putts and I lost. Well, you know what? You should work on your putting.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you need to make those 8-footers and stuff like that.
How was the tournament run? Was there significant improvements? I mean, not that the first one was really good.
Yeah, well, the tournament this time ran much, much better. There was a lot of concern that the round robins would take too long, and because they had split people into morning and afternoon groups again, and so the afternoon groups, you know, you're supposed to be starting at 3 o'clock, so they want you to check in at 2:45, and I was a little irritated because I'm like, well, they won't be done. We kind of all put our little heads together and said, well,
there's no way they're done.
There's no way the round robins will be done by 3.
Right.
The ones that started at 10, and you know, some groups take longer than others, so. It didn't. The only thing that I would say that they could work on when it comes to the tournament and stuff is communicating stuff to the players, and making sure that the players know exactly what's going on. Your group's running late. I mean, I shouldn't have to ask 5 people, hey, are we going to start on time?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Are we going to start on time? I don't know. Come back in a half an hour. Are we going to start on time? I don't know. Come back in 20 minutes. If you could just kind of say, look, this is when you're going to be starting, and check back up there. And then when you check back up there, they're like, no, we moved the start time to 4. Be back in an hour. That's something definitive that you could work with, because the one issue, personally, that I had with the way they were running the tournament was, how am I going to warm up? So
plus, I would think they'd get sick of person after person constantly coming up and asking them the same question, and then, I mean, if they just give a definitive come back at 4, then they don't have a cavalcade of people running up there.
But that being said, they were very good. Like, all the guys that were like running the brackets and stuff, they were very patient. They're like, okay, well, we're waiting on this, we're waiting on that, we're going to move these guys to another board. So they were good at explaining eventually, what time you were going to go. So that I was happy about. What I was worried about was Sunday. They had basically 4 events going. They had the women's consolation, the men's consolation, the men's knockout, and the women's knockout. A lot of them started an hour before the men's knockout, and then I look and I see that I'm second on my board. Well, am I going to have a board to warm up on? Because I wanted to go through a specific warm-up routine, and I set up a board in my room, right? So if I'm second up, I have to walk basically half a mile to the dart hall, check in, walk half a mile back so I can have a board to wear. That's kind of inconvenient. In Vegas, everything is like that. It's always like a long walk from the hotel to the venue and stuff. So I was kind of a little like, well, why don't you just say, I'm here, I'm there, so I'll show up. Let me just kind of, stay in my room and warm up. And luckily, there were a couple of boards to warm up on, so it wasn't that bad. But it was the same thing with the round robin. I mean, I wanted to warm up for my round robin a little bit, and there was only one board in the entire dart hall that we found that we could actually use. So, somebody kind of came up to me and says, hey, you can warm up on 45. I'm like, oh, great.
All right.
Okay, run over to 45, and these guys are playing. And then 44 looked open, and then somebody said, hey, you can't play on that board. I'm like, okay, fine,
okay,
whatever. So, I mean, they needed to have more boards, but even that
would
being
the venue
said,
support that, or did they have room for more boards?
Looked like it to me.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't sit down with a blueprint or anything like that.
They had 8 warm-up boards, and every 4th board was supposed to be a warm-up board.
Right, but the warm-up boards were supposed to be for the people that were actually in the round robin, and since we were in the next group, we felt sort of like we were usurping, but we did it with a smile, and we usurped away. So it wasn't that bad. The warm-up boards actually, for me, worked out fine. So my concern about, oh my God, I got to walk over there and I won't be able to get that didn't. Yeah. But that was my concern.
Mm-hmm.
And all that being said, it was an extremely well-run tournament. The tournament itself ran great, especially Sunday. Apparently, I was in a slow bracket. Now, I'm not like a really slow player, but we basically had a really tough bracket. In the knockout, we had Bob Seneve, we had Scott Wollaston, who's no longer Mr. Lucky. We had me.
It only took a year for that.
It only took, no, it was from October.
Oh, yeah,
so
right.
he got rid of it in like 4 months, 6 months. And we had Andre Carmen, the Canadian who had won the PDC last year in London, Ontario. Mm-hmm. And everyone ended up playing 11-leg matches. So our bracket fell behind.
It's going to take, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it just stands to reason if everybody else is winning 6-3 and you're winning 6-5, and it's match after match after match, your bracket's going to fall behind.
Right.
So hopefully, we didn't mess anything up. But even that being said, it was extremely. The tournament itself was well run. I got a lot of people. I didn't take my phone up because I'm playing.
Yeah.
And, can't really. But people are like, they couldn't find the links, they couldn't find this, they couldn't find the results. Some people don't understand Twitter and stuff like this. And I was talking, in the pre-show fist fight with Chatroom Girl, and she's telling me how easy it is to follow the Dartslive Superdarts online.
Right.
Whereas I've got people, I can't find this, I can't find that, I can't find this, I can't find that, and I concluded in my head that somebody needs to understand how to use social media. So I will fix all this on this show, and then it'll never happen again, and we can all move forward with smiles on our faces.
There you go.
Especially you, since you now have Keish.
Yeah.
Right. You should have catered the show. We should have prime rib and lobster.
Yeah,
or
that would be
something.
nice if I would have known ahead of time. How do I cater a show?
I wanted to surprise you.
Well, I know, but how do I spend money I don't think I have?
I don't know. ESP, something like that. Well, let's talk. Let's talk some results.
You want to do some results?
Why don't we do the results from the? Oh, we're getting a message.
Move to your left. And move box on screen over.
Box on screen?
Yeah.
Oh, can you not see the box? Are you talking about this?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, you're welcome. Oh, no. What? No. Oh, my gosh.
I was like, oh, man.
Okay, training the chat room girl.
Yeah, training in progress.
Check your
Lesson
email.
2.
Check
your email. I'll do it at the next break.
Yeah.
Anyway, as far as the tournament went, the one thing that I was absolutely shocked about was how many seeds went down early. So you got John Part was basically
our 2-to-1
basically favorite. Yeah, he's the guy to beat. Everybody knows he's the guy to beat, and nobody told Chris Peak, who's a veteran darter from California, doesn't travel much like most of the West Coast guys. Right. It's not worth it for them to be flying 4 hours to go play a $15,000 tournament somewhere. So they just kind of stay on the West Coast, but they do play. And it was astounding. Chris Peak was basically beating him like a drum. He's up 5-3. It's his throw.
And this
He
is what,
starts
best
out-
of 7?
This is best of 11,
Or best of 11?
in the top 64 of the knockout round. So this is a first round. And, Chris had him, started with a ton 80, everything looked good, and then, I don't know, he kind of, just threw a couple of 41s. John got him
Got a
to make
little
it
nervous, maybe?
5-4. John broke him to make it 5-5. Now it's 6-5. It's John's throw. Life is good for John. He throws a couple of ton 40s. After 12 darts, he's sitting on 40. And, after 9 darts, Chris is on 236. He goes up and bangs in a ton 40 to leave 96. Okay, and just be there in case the guy misses, right? Sure enough, John's first start, dead center top wire on the 20, but clipped the wire and then was hanging tail down, blocking
nice.
the 20. He tried to work 2 of them in there. They both caught the flight. So he ends up, with 3 on the top wire, and this guy's sitting on 96, and sure enough, single 20, trip 20, dead center, double 8.
That's
Good night,
it.
John. And everybody was watching it. They actually were filming it. I'm not going to really comment on a lot of this stuff that I'm really tempted to comment on.
It's close to what happened to him almost in Chicago.
Yeah, pretty
But
much.
he ended
when
up winning
Ken
that
McNeil,
one.
Ken McNeil had him down, 5-0?
5-0.
And he came back, and, but that was a case where, McNeil missed a couple of, doubles here and there.
Right.
But this was a case where, John fought back, started kind of slow, first round of the morning. And, this guy, to his credit, to Chris Peake's credit, did not go away. And when he had an opportunity,
He took it.
he took it.
Yeah.
And that's how you win a dart match. And I was, I don't know how old he is. I don't know him that well. I talked to him, but, just very briefly, I said, that was great to see. And, a lot of people were watching, and a lot of them were watching in shock because they just assume, that John's gonna
make
win.
the comeback.
And it's like, here's a guy who's, he's put the time in, he's paid his dues, he's kept playing regardless of, whatever opportunities there are, which from what I understand in California aren't that many. Now he gets his chance to take out a 3-time world champion, and he bagged him. And I'm thinking, okay, it's the first round, and I haven't thrown a dart yet because we're actually waiting for that.
For the board?
I was supposed
Really?
to start my first round match, and they were 2 boards down, and I'm like, what do you think, man? You want to check this out? He's like, yeah. Absolutely. So it was the highlight of the tournament, and there you go. What you got there, chat room girl?
Well, we'll get to it when we
We're gonna get to you.
get to him.
Get to what?
Dan Olson's 8.
Oh, well,
perfect
yeah,
darts in
we're
it.
going to get to. Yeah, we got. There were two Canadians that almost threw 9 darters that would have been worth $15,000.
Yeah.
I got to see Dan Olson's 9th dart, dead center top wire on the double 12, and and the only reason I saw it was I was actually playing, but the chalker screamed something out like, "Oh my God, that would have been $15,000!" And then I
Right.
kind of look and I see his dart hanging there, and I see this look on Dan's face, and I'm like,
Oh, man.
man, you had it."
Wow.
And then Chris White, in the process of dismantling Gary Mawson in, I think, top 16, went ton 80, and ended up throwing a 10-darter. So, I mean, there was some play. And that was one of the things I was so disappointed about with, I got a lot of, you guys can save the emails, like, trashing the live streaming and stuff now. I've read them all, and I get it. But you've got 63 matches going on, and the only one they stream is the last one. And you don't, it's what I've said about finals before. I mean, you see a guy in the finals and he's not playing that well, and you shake your head. You don't realize how well he played to get there.
Right.
Chris White was on fire. Chris White was winning 6-0 in like 10 minutes. He was absolutely lighting it up. And Dan Olson and him had a titanic semifinal while I'm still playing in the top 8. And I kind of heard somebody yell, and I looked over, and there's Dan pulling out the winning dart, and I was like, wow, that would have been a great match to watch. I had a great match with Andre Carmen. Would have been a great match to watch. Guys were telling me about some of their other matches. I mean, there were plenty of great darts to watch,
right.
And nobody got to see them, and that needs to get fixed. The idea, and I'm not trying to like criticize anybody. I'm just saying, in the future, if people want to see darts, show them darts.
Yeah.
Okay. I got a lot of complaints about the women's final, like the women were somehow being disrespected, and that's got to because apparently, during the women's match, they weren't even like commenting really on the match. They were just kind of yakking, and then, oh, hey, there's a 104 out, like they weren't paying attention. Whoever was, I don't know who was doing it, and it's like you can't do that. You can't put that out there. I mean, that's you're trying to grow the women's game. You want women players, and you're going to dismiss them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, admittedly, if all you're going to do is show the final, the odds of you seeing a very compelling match are going to be very, very low. But I don't see how you can't, like the way Dartslive does the world stages. There is a match on their TV board every single time. When the PDC was at the Mohegan Sun, and they were streaming it, or not streaming it, they actually were broadcasting a TV show live to England. The first time we were at the PDC, where it was like huge money.
Right.
I think I made top 32 and got $3,000.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. It was great money. They would just, as soon as the stage was empty, they would look around, see who was playing, and say, you guys go downstairs and you play in front of the cameras. Mm-hmm. You guys go downstairs, play in front of the cameras. So they were showing darts the whole time. There were plenty of matches worth watching, and nobody got to see them. And that's disappointing. And if you want to sell a sport and you want to sell your product, which is basically you're talking about quality American darts, and bringing big time darts to America. There are people there's an audience out there.
Sure.
But if all you do is
that's why they show every single basketball game in the 10 years ago they didn't, but they figured now with the amount of cable channels, they figured out how they could get every game on TV.
Yeah, well, look at a golf tournament. Mm-hmm. I mean, it got to be pretty bad in the 80s. Like, Jack Nicklaus would be 8 shots back, and you would see every shot he hit.
Yeah.
And, oh, by the way, here's the guy 8 shots ahead,
winning.
Hitting another birdie, and let's go back to Jack, who would spend 5 minutes looking at a ball in the sand trap.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the guy was like grim death. He's a walking rain delay. Slowest player I've ever seen, and I never once saw Jack Nicklaus's group get called for being a hole behind.
No.
He was 5 holes behind.
Yeah.
If he was in the last group, Tiger Woods is almost as bad.
He almost is.
I mean, and I know there's crowd control and all this stuff, but I mean, give me a break. All right, let's take a break. We'll get back. We'll do the results from the NWDS. I'll check my email. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mystery Mark, Steve, and Chat Room Girl. We'll be right back. Okay, and we are back for the second half. Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
The DartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. Also, many thanks to Redwood Darts, which I use this weekend, and Windy City Fabricators. It actually wasn't a weekend, and it was almost a week ago.
Yeah,
but
pretty much.
That's just sort of habit.
Was there any player conduct rules broken that you were?
Well, okay, yeah, that was the other thing about the tournament that I want to see addressed before the next one. And like I said, it was a great tournament. Everybody really enjoyed it. But these little things, you identify them, you fix them, and you move on.
Mm-hmm.
It's nothing personal, but there are rules in when you play a PDC sanctioned and a PDC match that counts for PDC money. You have to follow PDC rules.
Right.
And the PDC has a lot of rules, and like most rules, they've developed through problems that these rules are meant to address. Now, I had one player come up to me and say, "Hey, Steve, explain something to me," because apparently, once you're knocked out, you become the complaint desk.
Yeah.
So I was like, "Okay, what's the issue?" And he was telling me he was playing a guy who he was beating. He was playing, the guy talking to me was playing really well. He's beating this guy. And then he's like, and then the guy started talking to me. He would grab his darts and talk to me as I was, standing at the line as he was walking back. And I'm like, well, according to the PDC, you can't do that. And he's like, and then the other thing he was doing is he was standing right behind me. So at one point he almost kind of shoved me to get to the line. And I'm like, okay, well, the PDC's got a rule about that too. There's an exclusion zone. You cannot stand. And there's gamesmanship, and there's also guys trying to get to the line, stay in their rhythm and stuff like that. So what the PDC has said is that you can't stand. They actually color the carpeting, which obviously we wouldn't be able to do. But you cannot stand within 3 feet of the guy at the line, and you can't talk to him. Pretty simple rules,
right?
And then every now and then you'll see these guys kind of jawing at each other, and he's like, "What could I have done?" And I'm like, "Well," and I thought to myself, I'm like, "You could go to the official." But he doesn't know the rule because the guys that are officiating don't really know all the PDC rules.
Okay.
So I'm like, you're kind of on your own. Either you tune them out or you tell them to shut up.
Yeah.
Right? Don't talk to me. I'm playing. We can talk after I beat your butt.
Yeah.
Right? And then get on with it. But it's not a situation that a guy who's never played in a PDC event is really mentally prepared for, and somebody who has played in a number of PDC events kind of knows, oh, maybe this will work. This guy's got to stop throwing 1080s on me at some point, right? See what I'm saying?
If I get in his head.
So, I mean, we talk about that more in depth in another show. Exactly, when you play a PDC event, there's more to it than dress codes and diddles.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there are rules that everybody's supposed to follow, and once everybody's aware of them, I'm sure they'll follow them. But this is one of those kind of learning curve kind of things, where somebody who hadn't really played in one of these before, the issues
plus
never
you got to
come up.
get your officials to know the rules then.
Well, and that was the thing. I mean, the officials were, running the brackets, making sure people were on the board, making sure the chalkers were there, which they did very well. But they didn't strike me as being very knowledgeable about paragraph 8, section 4 of the DRA and stuff like that. So that's something that's gonna, and from what I saw, it was like a no drama tournament. I mean, this was after everything was over, and the guy's like, well, I missed some doubles. I mean, I should have won anyway. He wasn't really whining about it. He was kind of like, but how is it that this guy gets to talk to me like that? I'm like, well, he's not allowed to.
Right.
So I found that.
Yeah, he's just inquiring for future reference and just to really know what his course of action can be.
And there was another issue that happened in Atlantic City that a guy was telling me about, and I was kind of like, well, that's something where the official should have said, no, on you go. But these guys that you're playing, big money, big time darts, guys are going to try to take advantage of you. So you're kind of on your own as far as handling it,
mm-hmm.
right? And you handle it as best you can. You stay in whatever zone you happen to be in, and then you deal with it after. I had a chalker once. I was playing Robert Thornton. I had won my board at a PDC tournament in Vegas, and I'm playing Robert Thorne.
Yeah.
You know, the guy's, you know,
pretty good.
well, yeah. I mean, he's only apparently good if we don't pick him.
Right.
But I was playing him. He was playing brilliantly, but I was playing well too. And I had beaten our chalker for the board. He was some British guy. And he was like, you know, every time I'd get to the line, he'd like jerk around and make all these sudden movements and all this stuff.
Tried to slow you down?
Well, no, he was trying to distract me because apparently I was throwing too many ton 40s. So eventually, you know, I shook, the guy beat me. It's like, whatever, okay. And then I went to the board official after the match, and I'm like, that guy, here's what he did. And it's like, I'm not blaming my loss on him. It's like, okay, you know, obviously, you know, if you're staring at the chalker, you know,
it's hard to hit a
kind of
triple
half
20.
in the bag anyway, right? But I handled it, and even if I would have had, you know, Venus chalking or some other statue, I mean, I still might have lost.
Yeah.
But the idea here is that, you know, you deal with the stuff in front of you, and if somebody's clearly violating the rules, you call them on it.
Right.
You know.
Well, that makes sense.
But if calling on it is going to, you know, turn into like a 5-minute thing that's going to throw you out of, you know, your
It's
rhythm
not necessarily going to help either.
or you know, your mental frame of mind, then that's not going to do you any good. And he's now succeeded in messing you up.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where everybody deals with it from like the beginner level. You know, you're playing with some guy and he's, you know, talking some smack or, you know, whatever. Guys rattle their darts
Right.
or they'll drop one when you're throwing it a double. All this like juvenile gamesmanship. And, you know, as you progress as a player, you start dealing with it and it just doesn't bother you anymore. Right?
Right.
I mean, and then you just move on. But when you see top players deliberately, you know, pulling stuff like this, A, you should be glad because now you've got them really worried where they're going to Plan C.
Yeah.
Plan A was showing up and just
and
beating you without
beating you
trying.
down.
Plan B was showing up and beating you with a good game. Plan C is now, well, I better do something else because I'm going down.
Exactly.
So, you know, just the fact that they have to mess with you like that, and then I don't know, maybe, you know, when guys pull stuff like that, we'll call them out on it from now on. I'm not going to do it for this tournament,
Right.
But I think if players are going to pull a lot of like ridiculous stuff, like some of the stuff I heard in Philly, we'll start calling people out on it and saying, hey, if this guy ever does this to you, here's what you do.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is your course
of action. And then they're going to run out. Eventually, you know, people that listen to the show will be tuned into as far as like not only, you know, who pulls this stuff, but
who you're
you know,
watching
how to
out
deal
for.
with it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means, but I like the notes from the chat room.
Golden
girl.
Fingers
I don't know
request.
what that means. Can we
All
get
right,
to some
you wanna do some
results?
results?
Okay,
All right.
this is the New World Darts Series results for the men in the knockout.
Top 16.
Top 16. Who do we got?
So you're 9 through 16. Tim Nichols, Scott Wollaston, not so lucky this year. Is that what you're saying?
Well, I'll get to that.
Kurt Hartman, Chris Peak, Ralph McCool, Michael Roundtree, and Gary Mawson.
Okay, and so just real quickly, you know, a lot of great players here.
Yeah.
You know, Gary Mawson ran into the hottest shooter in the room, who was Chris White. Michael Roundtree played really good all day. I'm reading
Chris
over your
Peak
show.
is the
Chris
one that
Peak is the
beat
guy that beat Part. And then he played Nico De Panos, and Nico was playing really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Nico had beaten Gordon Dixon in top 32 and you know, had a nice little run going. Kurt Hartman lost to a Chicago guy who I believe it was his very first tournament. He lost to Mike Maloney, and told me later, I guess, you know, Kurt had missed some doubles or run out of gas, one of the two. But
Kurt went to Vegas to play Mike Maloney.
Yeah, I mean, they basically could have played it down
That's
the street,
hilarious.
right? Yeah. Well, I mean, they got to it later. I mean, Mike Maloney actually took out. He was in the bracket with Ross Snook. And another Canadian took out Ross Snook, who was the 5 seed in the first round, and then Mike Maloney beat that guy in the second round. And then he beat Kurt Hartman, is that top 16?
Yeah.
Yeah, so he beat Kurt Hartman, so he won his board, which, you know, I there were some people sending me stuff about, like, how some of the brackets were really, really tough, and some looked really, really easy. And to be honest, I don't think there's any easy brackets in that room, but the seeds are going to be tougher and tougher to get now. I mean,
Right.
you only had 3 tournaments last year that they were using for seeding.
Right.
So there were guys getting seeded that had, you know, basically only won like a couple of $100 and managed to make a top 16 here or there. Now you've got way more money, and so the seeds are going to be, I mean, the top seeds aren't going to really change. I mean, Darren Young's going to be the 1 seed now by a mile. And, you know, Andre Carmen,
Part will
Larry
still be
Butler,
up there because
John
he won
Part.
it.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, all the money from last year counts for this year, but what people need to remember is the money for this year counts for next year. So
Right.
Darren is not out of sight because, Darren won a lot of money last year that after this year is going to be dropped off. And also there's a huge prize for, finishing second because you get to be the second American at the PDC
Right.
World Cup of Darts that Larry Butler played in. I believe Larry's still going to be the second highest Canadian right now. Or, I'm sorry, second highest American right now. I wouldn't call Gary a Canadian.
Gary or Larry?
Larry. Maybe we need another break.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time here.
All right.
No, but okay. So those were the results, and now
I missed Howard Myers too.
Yeah, and Howard, ran into Darren, and Howard had just gotten off of a couple of very tough matches. Howard was another guy that, he had a tough board, and I'm trying to remember. I think Sheldon Lionel and him went to the 11th leg. And Howard's a fine player. He's another one of the a lot of people don't know him because he's a West Coast guy and doesn't really travel much. Maybe you see him at the Nationals. That's about it.
Mm-hmm.
But he won the 501 in Vegas last year. I mean, so the guy can play. As far as Williston goes, I mean,
Is he still getting a kick out of this? This lucky.
well, here's the thing. I told him because I beat him. And
did you?
Yeah, I
okay.
did. And I told him that I got a little bit lucky. And I thought about it because I had, 1,850 miles to think about all these matches I played. And the funny thing was, I blew it early to Scott. I won the diddle, I won the first leg, and then I proceeded to miss a bunch of doubles and fall behind 2-1. Now I'm down a break, and I have to get it back before he gets to 6. And I'd open up good, and then I would throw like 3 really ridiculously useless darts. Like I'd go like ton 40, 40,
right,
or 39 or 43, and he would get back in, and then he was hitting his doubles right away, but they were all going in the corner, which irritates me as a player. It's like, if you hit it in the middle, at least I can see it's in.
Yeah.
You're going to throw every double into a corner, you're going to irritate me. So we get down to, he's up 5-4, it's his throw, and I want to say he had a whack at 60, and threw like fat 20, went for the double 10 and put it right in the corner
so
of the
you
double
think it's
15.
In. Yeah.
Right. No, I knew that was gone.
Oh, okay.
I knew that was a goner, and I was sitting on 32. I took that out. I'm like, oh, finally I got my break. Now I've got the throw in the last leg, and I went like ton 80.
Right.
And I was out of sight. So, but, I mean, I'm lucky insofar as he missed.
Sure.
But, I mean, when you put one on the wire, a lot of guys are like, oh, bad luck. I don't hear anybody say good luck. But, I mean, there's
good luck
luck's
for you,
involved.
bad luck for
I played the 4 seed in the second round. I played Andre Carmen. It was his throw in the 11th leg, and I thought I threw a ton 80 to leave 36, and apparently it was a ton 40 because I went up and I'm like, why'd you only mark 76 up there? And I looked, I'm like, oh, that's not in. So I had 76 to win for a 15 darter, and the double 18 missed by, I don't know, 2 inches
really?
Maybe. He's got 3 clear at 36 to win, and he goes inside 18, inside 9, and I'm like, oh my,
wow,
really? You mean if I hit a double, I win? I almost ran to the line, and I don't know how the double 9 went in because it didn't really feel good. So that maybe that's a little bit.
Did
of luck.
Williston have
know.
a comment when you told him you got lucky?
Well, Williston's a class act, and Williston's been around the block, and Williston knows what happens in a dart thing, and we had a lot of fun with the luck and stuff like that.
Sure.
And but Scott's a fine player, and sometimes stuff doesn't go in, sometimes you miss, and at the level of competition that you had at this place, one missed dart here or there cost you a leg.
Yeah.
And it was that way all day long. I mean, I'm playing. And then let's do top 8 here.
So top 8, we got Ryan Barnett, Mike Maloney, Nick DePeos, and Larry Butler.
Yeah, Nico DePeños. And again, Larry, from what I heard, was looking at an opponent in the first round that had like 9 match darts and missed them all.
Really?
So was Larry lucky to get as far as he did? I mean, whatever. You say tomato, I say tomato.
Tomato.
Right, whatever.
She says tomatoes.
Right. And then Nico had been playing really well, but he ran into a hot shooter. Ryan Barnett ran into Darren, and from what Ryan told me, Darren played really fine. And then I played Mike Maloney, and here's a guy who's never played a steel tournament. He's came up through soft tip, and he's scoring really well. But when he gets to finishing, he's having a hard time.
Mm-hmm.
He figures it out on the spot, tries to keep his rhythm, and hits what he's aiming at. Then he's golden. But for him, for somebody who's never played a tournament, a steel tournament, to make top 8 in the toughest field on a continent
pretty good.
is like, that guy ought to be on cloud 9.
Right.
I'm thinking. He was disappointed to lose, and he'll be back. I mean, some of these guys, he's young. He's got to be under 40.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, a lot of the good dart players are
No,
over
that's
40.
right.
Yeah. I mean, some of these guys, to be honest with you, I'm starting to sense a little click with some of the younger guys, and they would do themselves well to maybe hang out with somebody a little older that has some answers, because 2 wrongs generally make another wrong. They don't make a right.
Yeah, generally.
So, these young guys who, were like there was like the crew. Like, remember the poker guys, all these young guys?
Yes.
They all
yeah.
ended up busted out and broke.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you should talk to Doyle Brunson a little bit. Have the guy over and pick his brain. I
Right.
mean, it's like, there's a reason older guys win, and it's not because they're older. Trust me. Stamina is an issue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know. I just thought I'd throw that in there.
All
Because they were interviewing players. And so I sit down in front of a camera, and there's somebody there sitting there with questions. And, one of the questions he asked me is like, well, what do you think of the other people in your round robin? And I'm like, what do I think of them? Well, to be honest, I don't even know who's in my round robin, and I don't really care. I'm here to, I'm going to play the dartboard. I'm going to try to execute, and then, win.
Right.
Who do I care who I'm playing?
Doesn't matter.
Who's in my round robin? And the other criticism a lot of people had for this tournament is the round robin didn't really count for anything, because as long as you made it in the top 4 and got out of your round robin, then you were in the knockout. And if you weren't a PDC seed, you just got blind drawn into wherever you were. Right? And if the round robin's not going to count and your buddy's in there and you're already in, can you throw him a few legs? Maybe you could.
Probably.
Are you doing him any favors? Probably not. I mean, if the guy can't earn his way in, he's better off in the consolation bracket.
Right. He's got a better chance and more money than,
But I would like to see them somehow do something where the round robin's a little more meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
Like maybe, I don't know, give some prize money.
Right.
Make it a little bit more
somewhat,
where
a little bit
it's
incentive.
not exercise
Right.
and a warm up, that it's really a little bit more intense.
Mm-hmm.
I think people would like that. I think some of the guys that were kind of like, really good, were thinking, well, why do I have to play in the round robin? I'm going to get through no matter what, so this is a waste of time for me. I wish we didn't have that kind of an attitude, because, I forget who it was. It might have been Mike Maloney. Comes up to me. He's like, well, yeah, I had John Part in my round robin group, but I took a leg off him, and that's an accomplishment.
Right.
So when you I lost to some guy, I think it was Kevin Moncrief, I think, beat me 3-2, and he was all happy. And I'm like, congratulations. I'm thinking, ain't going to matter. I've already won 25 legs. I mean, I'm just sort of, you know what I mean? But not to steal anybody's thunder, but I mean, you take this stuff seriously, and every match counts, right? And
well, but it matters for them too, especially since it's not only one person getting through. When you got 4 people going through.
That's the whole
idea. You're wiping everybody else 5-0, and somebody beats you 3-2. He's going to have a leg up on being in the top 4.
Well, yeah, every leg counts, but I mean, just the individual matches are kind of like, You may never get another chance to play John Part in your life.
True, right.
And here you are, it's your first steel tournament. You took a leg off the guy. You ought to be happy about that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I mean, even though you're a top player and it may not matter to you, it matters to the other guys that are trying to get there. You know what I mean?
Right.
And as far as, like, enhancing your own reputation, I mean, maybe you don't need to do that or anything. But I would like to see the round robin be more meaningful, I guess, is kind of...
some
what
incentive.
I was getting at.
You need some incentive for that.
All right. And then, from what I hear, everybody wants to see more matches. Now, if you're saying that can't be done because you don't have the budget, I would say, yeah, I could do it. I mean, unfortunately, I have to play.
Mm-hmm.
But if I wasn't playing, I could do it. Dartslive does it. I mean, it's not that hard. They did it at the Mohegan Sun 5 years ago. I mean, don't tell me that it can't be done. Just tell me you didn't want to do it.
Right.
If you tell me it can't be done, then I'm going to start to seriously question your mental acuity. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So let's just
But if you didn't want to do it, you didn't want to do it.
Well, I mean, I didn't, get a chance to see what was streamed. I heard a lot of complaints. That's all. I don't know what's out there. I didn't have time to watch it or anything like that. But am I talking to myself here?
They're considering seeding the top 16 directly into the consolation.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Or directly into the knockout.
I'm not sure that seeding the top 16 into the knockout is a good idea, and I'll tell you why.
It.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good idea. For one, stamina is an issue. I don't see why the top 16 should get a bye into anything.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you make the round robin meaningful in some way, shape, or form, like you're seeding the top 16 PDC people, there's an easy way to get the results from the top 2 or 3 in every group, and then assign them seeds 16 through 32, where if you really do well in your group, you're going to get seeded, and then you're not going to get John Part in the first round, which is what seeding's all about. Seeding is all about not having some disastrous guy in the first round that has a good chance of winning the tournament. Right? You'd rather play him in the final, and if not the final, the semi, and if not the semi, top 8. You don't want to play him in the first round.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody who says that's what he wants is,
That's
obviously...
not a chance.
They've closed a lot of mental hospitals in Illinois. That's all I can tell you. Let's take a break. Let me get a drink of water. We'll be back in about 90 seconds. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark, Steve, and chat room girl Sassy. We'll be right back. Okay, and we're back for whatever quarter we're on.
We'll try third.
Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
TheDartZone.com is an official Cosmo distributor. And I'll tell you, we're training chat room girl Sassy, and during the break, she has the temerity to say that I talk a lot. And it's hard to break in. And I'm like, just grab your mic and say something. Here. Yeah, that's... Well,
but you told me I had to be quiet.
I did not say you had to be quiet. I said you had to be quiet at the beginning.
That's been very hard.
Pick up your microphone. What do you got to say? Because you want to chime in on this whole streaming issue.
Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. First of all, I love darts. I love
Sassy
darts.
loves darts,
I love
yes.
darts.
We know that.
So I am on Facebook, of course, I'm a member of every dart association that there probably is that I know of. And so Superdarts, they streamed every single match that they had.
Okay, let me just break in and tell everybody what Superdarts was.
Okay.
So in case they don't know, Dartslive had like a 16-person invitation-only field doing like a tournament over the weekend, and then they were streaming it, I think Saturday night, Sunday morning, something like that, and it was in Hong Kong?
Yes, it was in Hong Kong.
Okay, and we did mention it on the show. There were some Americans went over there. Carver went over there, Scotty, Kirchner, Fathom, Benny Dersch.
Right.
I go back and forth on the Canadian thing. So we did mention that they were doing it, but you got a chance to see it, apparently.
Absolutely. I watched from the very first match until the final match was over, and it was...
So did they stream more than just the final?
It was amazing. Oh, absolutely. From the first match on.
Did they stream every single match?
Every single match was streamed. They did an opening ceremony with all the dart players, which was
Were they all
streamed.
holding hands and
they
singing
were hugging,
Kumbaya?
high-fiving,
Okay.
and it was very exciting.
Did you see the secret handshake that
I
they had
did not.
for all those guys? Okay.
I did not.
Because I thought it was kind of a secret handshake club. I couldn't figure out how they picked who they did, and I'm just kidding because I know they're all great players. So.
Right, but it was amazing to watch. The nice thing about it too is not only did they have the brackets that showed, they did stream the doubles as well, Hickories. Thank you very much. Which was Friday night in Hong Kong, Saturday here, and they did stream every match of the doubles as well, which was what happened on Friday night in Hong Kong. But Sunday, which was actually Saturday in Hong Kong, which is Super Darts event, they had not only the bracket where you could see who was going to be playing each other and where they were from, but they had the time when that bracket was going to start. Like which each match was going to start, there was a time. So
did they ever run late?
They took a break, a 10-minute break, and they would tell everybody, "Hey, we're going to take a 10-minute break," and
we'll be right
back.
Were they all playing on the same board?
Yes, there was one board, one stage.
Okay, so basically, so then they just sort of played one match after another.
They had about a 10-minute break in between each one.
In between. So how long did that take? Like 4 hours, 5 hours?
Well, let's see. I think I started watching at midnight, and the final match, I think I watched like at 8 o'clock in the morning.
So 8 hours.
About 8 hours, and they did take a kind of a longer break between I believe top 8 and top 4. So it was.
But they didn't change the venue, or
no.
they just all played on the same board.
Yep. And the reason I do remember this. The reason they took a longer break in between those is they had an event.
Secret handshake.
No, they actually had an event there where Hong Kong, you played against live players. You could go on and you could play against the Super Dart players live on the Dartslive boards.
Okay. Like the remote play
the
thingy?
Remote play.
Okay.
So that was really cool, but it was just it was fun to watch, and I never lost my stream the whole time. They had commentators. It was just really neat the way they had the camera set up. You could see a clear shot of the board. You could see the player before they threw. You could see him really thinking about what they were going to shoot at. It was just really made you feel like you were there.
Okay.
So
a positive viewing experience.
Very positive.
And then you tried to follow the NWDS and had issues?
Yes, and I kept trying to get on, and it was kept timing out, and then finally I did get on, and I was excited because I got to see Big Daddy shoot his last 3 darts and hit the double bull to win it all. So that was good because we love timing. Big Daddy. We love Big Daddy. So yeah. That was
you
cool.
love Big Daddy.
I do. I like Darren.
Steve's a little
I'm getting a little sick of him, to be honest with you.
You haven't beat him in a while, have you?
Well, no, and I'll tell you, I really, I had a lot of miles to kick myself over losing.
I mean, when I saw the Final Four, I pretty much guessed who knocked you out. But That's just...
Look, I mean, I knocked myself out. I mean, it was at 3-2, I had either 4 or 2 clear darts at a double to go into, because we agreed we were going to take a break after 6 legs. And all I needed to do was hit a double in either 2 or 4 darts, and it's 3-3, game on, and I blew it.
Yeah.
And it's like I just, and I blew basically doubles in the leg before that and the leg before that and then the leg after that. I was having trouble with my doubles all day long. I mean, I'd play okay, I'd score okay, and then I'd be on like 104, and I'd go like single 16, trip 16, miss the double. And then, I would clean it up in the next round, but I kept telling myself, you know what?
But you're not going to get that shot.
You're not going to get these chances later on. You better start hitting them, and I kept missing them. And, double 16 is usually money for me, and I was outside the wire so many times. It was the first time I remember actually doing the lean.
The lean.
Yeah, where you think it's in and you're walking towards your dart,
yeah.
and then you stop to realize that it's not in.
It's the walk of death.
I did one walk of death where literally I was standing on one foot with my other leg totally extended behind me, and the only way to keep from falling on my face was, I actually just flexed my knee and jumped backwards. And I think I was playing Mike Maloney, and Mike Maloney was just like, what
are you
is
doing?
wrong with this guy? Because I'm a little lanky, and it probably looked like some, special needs giraffe that found a dartboard. I mean, I'm sure it looked like ridiculous.
Some amateur from
my chat room is blowing up.
Oh yeah, really? Well, they like to make fun of me.
Well, no, it's blowing up because we're,
talking about the.
Well, yeah, we're talking about you get a little and you want more.
Well, yeah, and I think that should give everybody great hope for the future. Is that the trick is to get the right formula to present this stuff to everybody, because the more that people see it, the more they, personally, when I see good darts, I'm inspired, and the more people see it, the more they're going to want to play. And I know, there are people that were disappointed with, the way they finished in Vegas, but they're going to go back and work on their games.
Well, the way I see it too. Plus, you're talking about wanting to see that this is only the second NWDS. Event.
Yeah, look how far they've gotten.
Right.
Look how
so
far.
It's not, you're upset that there wasn't anything streamed or they had problems with it, but that doesn't mean...
I'm not upset. I was there.
Well,
people were complaining because they wanted to see, and they couldn't follow what was happening.
Overall, I mean, Dartslive this wasn't only their second event that they've streamed.
No, they've been doing this now.
So
they've got it down pretty good.
Road,
down the road.
It's all going to work out.
Well, and I want to break in just for a second, because I have been a part of running tournaments before. And every time you run a tournament, you learn something new that'll make it better going forward.
Absolutely, and that's what we're here for.
Exactly.
We're not nitpicking. We're not like criticizing for the sake of criticism. We're just kind of generally saying, look, if you do it this way, you'll make people happy. These are, people want to see more matches. Okay.
Right.
Get to it. Make the round robin more meaningful. People want that. Mm-hmm. Get to it. That's what that's all we're saying.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
To be honest, I thought it was a great tournament,
tomorrow,
and I can't wait for New Orleans.
Right.
I cannot wait for New Orleans. New Orleans is going to be so awesome, and they're going to end up probably capping entries. So I don't know if you can sign up yet, and I'm sure when they're taking sign-ups, we'll let everybody know. But I mean, literally, I can see 400 people showing up in New Orleans. That's how cool this tournament is, and that's how great this format is for everybody. And people walk away with the most positive dart experience that they ever have,
right,
as far as like tournament darts go. And it's definitely going to be when people want to run a tournament and they want to give a more bang for your buck and get people coming, this is the way to go. Mm-hmm. The old way, where you have 15 events and you got to find 3 different partners and all this other stuff, is for the birds.
Right.
See, and that's the kind of thing I want to see online, because maybe I'm not able to go.
Well,
it's how exciting it is and how much people love the format and so forth.
Yeah, it's tough because we don't have an audience. So I mean, we're not gonna. You're probably if you're seeing a top 60 format, you're not going to see 50 screaming people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, how much of an audience they had, for the Superdarts and whatnot. But, the more people get knocked out, the more people will be in the audience. I mean, they had an audience for the final. I mean, they had it in the lounge, I guess, where they were doing karaoke on Friday night. They had a stage and everything, and it looked great. And there were plenty of people there. I mean, the American fans need to, start learning how to be fans, and it's tough when you're a player. when you're a player and you've just been knocked out, you're awfully critical of the guy, and then you look at his average, and it's like, well, he averaged way more than he averaged, like 12 more around against me. What's this? If he'd have thrown that way against me, I'd have buried him. So, did we ever finish results?
Well, not really. We've pretty much given up the spoiler alerts, but the top third and fourth was Chris White and you. Congratulations to both of you there.
Chris played great.
Chris White was knocked out by Dan Olson, and Darren Young knocked you out. And our chat room girl already gave up the spoiler alert.
That Darren won.
That Big Daddy
everybody knows.
Is your champion. Congratulations to Darren. Too bad we didn't have the
and it was,
the I will win thing.
Well, I didn't have time to find it, or I'd have put it out there. But, yeah, the thing about Dan Olson was he's got, like, I think a brother that's very gravely ill. And he was just telling me, before I started the semi with Darren, because they were already done, because my bracket was kind of far behind, that, at least his brother was going to get a chance to see him play Darts live.
Oh, that's cool.
So I thought that was, like, pretty cool.
Yeah.
And, he started out slow, and then he came back like gangbusters, and, Darren got him in the end. But, I think for Dan, I'm not going to speak for him, but I'm guessing that, he was probably happy just to be there, and he played awfully well just to get on that stage. So it was kudos to Dan. And I guess he'll be one of the top 4 seeds now with Larry, John, and Darren, as far as like the North American Order of Merit goes. So if somebody was asking about that earlier. We have other results. Should we get to those?
Sure. Why not?
So you did the men. So
I
got everybody else.
Except for the consolation.
Yeah, the consolation. The consolation for the men. You got that?
I got the top 2. Sam Vaquera.
Sam Vaquera.
Vaquera was second, and if I will pronounce this right for the first time, it is George Timpone.
We do have verification on that. I
Sorry,
got it
George.
From about 5 people. No, it was. I had a good time talking to George. He said he didn't miss a double all day.
He won the consolation.
Sunday. He won the consolation. He was very unhappy. He was in the consolation, but he woke up Sunday and he's like, I'm going to play, and he played like a champ. And also Sam Vaquero, from what I heard. He beat another Chicago guy. Kevin Jenkinson was, I think, in top 8, and he said the guy just couldn't miss. The guy was on fire, so he must have played very well. And that consolation field was no cakewalk. There were top-ranked guys in the consolation that you were like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Donnie Joe won the 501 singles in Virginia Beach 2 weeks before. He couldn't get out of his round-robin bracket.
Right.
Chuck Pankow had a rough weekend. He was in the consolation bracket. I mean, there were a bunch of good players in the con. That was no cakewalk at all. As far as the women go, can you still hear me? I think I hit something here. As far as the women go, top 4. Let's do top 8. Top 8 for the women: Krista DeBoer, Maria Mason, Brenda Rausch, and Gloria Gutierrez. Top 4: Valerie Goad and Morgan McCormick. There's a team I want to see play doubles.
Valerie Goad, Morgan McCormick?
Yeah, I'd like to see them play doubles sometimes. They definitely have the nicest shirts. And then Paula Murphy was second, and Stacy Bromberg was the winner. So we, top 2 seeds made the final. So that's pretty good. Now, for the consolation, let's see, what do we have here? For the men, we also have top 8, Scott Lemoyne, Laura Thau, another great player, John Hathaway, Kevin Jenkinson. They were top 8 for the men. Joey Burt and Pat Gallagher were top 4.
Okay.
Joey's a good California guy, and Pat Gallagher is one of these DPNY players. So they did really well. Consolation for the women, top 8, Ann Moore, Jennifer Schaefer, hey Jen, Trish Grezik and Selena Walsh. Top 4, Karen Clancy and Brittany Joniak. Second place, Holly Frary, and the winner was of the consolation was Shelley Miller. So congratulations to all those folks. Yeah. Let's take another break, and it'll be a real quick one because I know we're running late, and we will be right back. You're listening to Dart Talk with Mark, Steve, and Sassy. We'll be right back. Okay, and we are back for the last quarter.
Yeah.
I lost count. Brought to you by the Dart Zone.
Stay in the zone.
The dartzone.com is an official
Jeez,
Cosmo
we're already at an
distributor.
hour and 15. Sorry to interrupt.
Can we
there.
wrap it up? I mean,
We want to talk a little bit about Dartslive, though, don't you?
Yeah, I want to get the results for Dartslive, but actually I noticed in the chat room, somebody's in the chat room, and I promised I would address something. So here's the deal. There's a guy who's saying that sometimes he pokes himself in the face with the dart.
Okay, you brought that up 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I haven't really had a chance to get back to him, and I said I would do it on the show. So here's the deal. The easiest way to fix something like that, basically, if you're poking yourself sometimes and not other times, the problem is that you are not extending your upper arm the same distance every time. What generally happens is as you get, well, you can't see me. I'm not. As you get tired, what you'll do is your elbow will start dropping like this as you set up. And because your elbow drops now, your hand is going to be a little closer.
Right.
So what you want to make sure you do is make sure every dart you extend all the way out before you bring it back, and that hopefully that'll help. Send me an email. Let me know if that helps, Mo. And
all right.
Yeah, I did want to make sure we got to that. As far as the Dartslive goes, the Superdarts, I know for a fact that Gunnar, Lawrence Illigan, and Paul Lim were the top four, and Benny Dersch was the runner-up to Scott Kirchner.
Correct.
Outside of that, you got anything for me, Sassy?
Dave Fadden won his first match, so he would have been in top 8.
Okay, so Dave Fadden was top 8. Okay. I mean, and here's the thing that I found really irritating getting ready for the show, because I didn't have anywhere near the normal prep time I have, and that was that, I could not find results easily. And that's something that, I think needs to be rectified. I mean, results should be posted immediately and in more than one place so everybody can find them, and it doesn't really matter where. People that are trying to hold the results so that they see it here or they see it there are missing the point to social media and just irritating people, which is another thing that social media really you should probably try to avoid. Like the one thing I remember about the Dartslive is it was easy to find the results. It's on their website, it's on their Ustream channel, you can find them on Twitter. I mean, the PDC has a Twitter handle, PDC Results, where if you just go to the hashtag PDC Results, you'll see them all listed.
Yeah.
I mean, how hard is that? It should be pretty easy. It should have been very easy for people.
You just have to get somebody to do it.
It should have been very easy for people to follow this tournament in Vegas, and I know a lot of people were trying and were getting very frustrated, so hopefully that will get ironed out.
Oh, I'm sure it will.
That would be. It's just going to make it better for everybody. We've said this from day one on this show. It's like we want to treat darts like a sport. We want to, give the fans a place to go and stuff like that. Well, fans want to follow their team. In this day and age where you've got updates on everything known to man coming to your smartphone, you ought to be able to get tournament results. And if 3 days later the results aren't posted, then it's a Stone Age tournament like an ADO tournament, where it's like, oh well, we can't get the results because we gotta go to the ADO, and then by the time you post them, nobody cares because they've moved on to the next tournament. Yeah. So I mean, this stuff needs to get done in real time, and I did see somebody tweeting some stuff. So I mean, that was good. The problem is you can't just tweet it because not everybody's on Twitter. True. So it's got to be in more than one place, and it's got to be consistent. And when you say that, hey, we're going to have live updates, then you got to have them. You can't say you're going to have live updates. People go there and they're not there. They're going to be like, they're going to think it's some Mickey Mouse thing, and all that.
Or they're not going to believe you the next time when you say you have live updates.
All of that combines into the fans' experience for the people that aren't there. Now the tournament experience was awesome for everybody who was there. So now we just got to expand it so that the people aren't there can get a really good sense, like Sassy was saying about, she could kind of get a feel for the tournament based on what was coming online. That should be easy to do. I mean, my gosh, you got cameras, you got people playing remotely.
Right.
You know, so you should be able to at least get this stuff out there where, okay, hey, here are the results. I told one guy, I'm like, hey, just throw it on the Dart Talk Facebook page so people can find it. And people are still like, you know, not everybody's a computer expert. You know, you got to make this stuff easy for people to follow. Are we done yet? Can we finish?
What do you got coming up this weekend?
Oh, this weekend, well, we're supposed to have like a Winmau Masters regional final in Chicago on Sunday, and I don't know how many people we're going to have. And if we don't get 8 people, I may just bag it. Because, you know, to be honest, if people don't want to play the ADO, but they want to play this NWDS thing, I'll run NWDS qualifiers.
Yeah, there you go.
Right? We'll run hometown events. There's a PDC event in Chicago that I don't know if the entry fee is like $110, $120, whatever it is. I'll run qualifiers for that. That's in June. I'll run qualifiers through all May. Everybody puts in $10. You win, you get your entry fee.
Right.
I mean, if people would rather do that than do ADO regionals, it's fine with me. I mean, I just want more opportunities for people to play. That's what kills me about like some of this stuff I hear about soft tip, where this guy's banned and you got to do this to play that. Look, so you want to have a dart tournament, then you invite the darters to show up and play.
Yeah.
And then let the best darter win.
Right.
Whoever's having the best day wins, and everybody shake hands, and then you go to the next one, right? I mean, the Secret Handshake Club tournament, I think that's great. I think it's great for the players. I think it gives exposure to the sport. And if the company gets some exposure as well, and they're going to be putting the money up for the players, then they deserve it, right? So I'm all for that. We should probably have more of those. And you should invite talk show hosts.
Yeah, there you go.
Right. Anyway, next week I'm going to beat on the BDO for a little bit.
I got to give a shout out too.
Oh, you want to shout out?
To
Well,
soft
pick up your
tippers.
mic.
Can you not hear me?
Well,
I have to give a shout out to my soft tippers because we have Illinois State coming up this weekend in Peoria.
oh yeah, that's another one where some people can play and some people can't. So
Well,
should
yeah.
we even bother mentioning it? But good luck to everybody playing and traveling this weekend, and I hope they
lovely
fly
Peoria.
where you're aiming. Hope they fly where you're aiming.
Right.
I can say, but we don't advertise for profit-making entities.
Is it profit making? Really?
I assume if it's soft tip, it's profit-making.
For who?
For the operators and the guys who collect the quarters, I'm thinking it doesn't really.
For the
I'm
boards.
sorry.
Well, okay, let's not. Okay.
Okay, my bad.
Well,
my
you see what
bad.
I'm saying. But
Yeah.
no, good luck to everybody playing this weekend, and we'll be back Wednesday. Are we all clear? We're back
Yeah.
to Wednesdays.
We are
next
back to
week? Are we
Wednesdays
all
next
good
week.
with that?
Yeah.
Before I
Okay.
go on vacation, yeah.
As long as you're going to be in town.
Are you a part timer? All this time training? We don't give that
You
many
know,
shows off.
I'll be here Wednesday, but I might be in
You have
vacation
to
mode
you have to
already.
clear it with the board.
I've already cleared it with my board.
You have to have the request.
You haven't cleared it with our board.
Yeah.
I might have frozen drinks, but yeah, I'll be here.
Yeah,
Okay.
Did you fill out the time off request sheet?
Don't have one.
Okay.
We'll get you one.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for listening and for chatting with us around the world. We will Dart talk to you next Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Okay, everybody,
Have a good evening.
take care, and I'll look for the end credits here.